Good afternoon, and thank you so much for the guys who are here. So my name is Valentine Maina from VSO, very passionate about climate change issues, and I'm going to moderate a session. So you can see I have a guest on the podium. So I'm going to invite Cedric Zulu. Such a hard name, yeah. So I'm going to invite you, Cedric. And before maybe you can, talk about what you do. I know you have a statement to make, so maybe you can come make the statement first, and then you can continue the session.
Thank you very much, Valentine. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Patricia, Portia, and the entire AbibiNsroma Foundation for this opportunity to join this session and to make a statement on behalf of the African Youth Commission. As the world gathers here at COP29 under the theme Rising, Ambitious and Mobilizing Climate Finance, the African Youth Commission urges global leaders to take bold and decisive action to address the climate crisis. Representing the voices of Africa's youth, we emphasize that the time for incremental progress is over. This is the moment for transformative change. And here are our 4 key priority areas for world leaders here at COP. 1, climate finance and equity. Africa contributing the least to the global emissions, yet bearing the brunt of climate impact, must be prioritized in climate finance mechanism. We call for the full operationalization of the Loss and Damage Fund and an ambitious new collective quantified goal on climate finance. These financial tools must address not only mitigation, but also adaptation and resilience and building for vulnerable communities. Adaptation, adaptation, adaptation. 2, ambitious national commitment. We call on all nations to enhance their nationally determined contributions in the preparation for 2025. The upcoming NDC must reflect real ambition to keep global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius. Africa's youth stand ready to support national government in this effort through advocacy, capacity building, and local action. Youth inclusion and capacity building are third call. Youth are key stakeholders in climate conversation. COP29 must facilitate greater youth participation in decision-making processes, from national delegations to UNFCCC bodies. Investment in education, skills development, and innovation for young people will strengthen their ability to contribute meaningfully to climate solutions. Our 4th call, and indeed the final call, is on just transition and adaptation. As we transition to a low-carbon future, it is essential to ensure that no one is left behind. Investment in renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, green infrastructure must be accompanied by policies that safeguard livelihoods and promote social justice. The global adaptation goal must advance indicators that address these realities, particularly in Africa. And now we make this final call to action. The science is clear, and the stakes are higher than ever. COP29 is a unique opportunity to bridge the gap between ambition and action. Africa's youth demand a fair, inclusive, and sustainable future. We urge leaders to rise to this challenge and deliver outcomes that reflect the urgency of the climate crisis. The world is watching, and history will judge this moment by the commitment and actions made here in Baku. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Cedric. That was a nice and very strong statement. I I think I will be making you stand for a while because I know you're very passionate about youth. You're very passionate about climate change. So maybe I would like to bring you here to talk about what really inspired you into the climate change space, and what is it about the youth that you feel that is really inspiring you to come and speak up about their voices. So maybe would you like to come here, or you can speak from there?
I prefer to speak from this because you'll be asking a series of questions, so I'll take from here. What inspired me to join the climate space? I was hugely inspired by the words of Nelson Mandela when I watched a movie about him, recounting his history and what made him to join the South African struggle, where he said that as a young person, his father related to him a story about how African leaders had made contributions to Africa. And he was inspired by that. He was inspired by the fact that he also wanted to make a contribution. And that inspired him to make great things. When I watched that video, that also inspired me. That this life is more than going to school, giving birth, getting married and having a house. It is about impact. It's about passion. And so I also, from a young perspective, young boy, had a passion to make a contribution to my community, a contribution to national issues and indeed global affairs. And that brought me far to this stage. And about climate crisis, I've been passionate about this call, right? Because climate change is a topic that affects all of us. Everybody, irrespective of where you are, regardless of your profession, everyone, everywhere is impacted by the climate crisis. And so I feel that as a young advocate, as a young leader, I need to direct my attention to the urgent issues and serious issue of climate crisis. And that is what brought me here. And that is what has led me to join the African Youth Commission and different organizations, the YMC, Frontline, to be able to put young people at the front and center of this call, to mobilize young people to make a case and to contribute to the solution.
Thank you so much. So, you've mentioned something very important. You are the youth focal person for the African Youth Commission, yes? And alongside that, you work for different organizations. So maybe you could speak more about what you do as the focal youth person for the African Youth Commission, just a little bit so that we can understand.
As the focal person for the African Youth Commission, you should know that the African Youth Commission is operating in 54 countries in Africa, and we operate on 8 thematic areas, including climate change and the environment. In that regard, we work with other young leaders across Africa to mobilize these young people, their voice, their passion, their energy, to make a contribution towards addressing that. And one of the ways we do that is to mobilize funding and give, liquid, funds to these young leaders to make a contribution right in their own countries. And so with the AACJ project, what we've done through the AACJ project by mobilizing funds from the Netherlands government is that we have identified 8 countries where we operate. And we have given funds to these young people for the past 4 years on this project so that they can identify climate change solutions right in their own country, in their own community, and use the resources we've given them to addressing that. And we have been good at that. Beyond that, the African Youth Commission has been very forceful in linking up with different NGOs and institutions across Africa towards addressing the crisis. We've been a voice in championing this, and we have supported different mechanisms, for some time now.
Amazing. So I know we've been joined by an handsome man and a beautiful lady. So maybe I would also give you an opportunity to introduce yourselves. Tell us what you do, and then we can continue. I know we have some few minutes left, so maybe any of you could go first. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Alan Amwakujedu from Ghana. I lead a nonprofit called Green Growth Africa. We are a dynamic nonprofit that facilitates socioeconomic, environmental, and technological development of rural and urban poor African communities. Primarily, our work focuses on women and it focuses on climate change. I'm sure my colleague here will just continue from there. Then I can come in and talk more about our activities and some of our projects. So over to you.
Hi everyone, thank you. So my name is Candy Dakwa and I'm the programs manager at Green Good Africa, leading two projects to be specific. So the first is the Coastal Resilience and Sustainable Livelihoods Initiatives. So in my community where I come from, New KG, for over a decade we've experienced loss and damage. And as a young person, I began to think, what can I do to mitigate this issue? So through the help of the Loss and Damage Youth Coalition grant-making cycle, we got some funds to, address the loss and damage that has happened within the community last year. People have lost their livelihoods, and so we are doing three things. First, we are restoring the degraded mangroves ecosystem within the area, and secondly, we are providing additional livelihoods because we realize that their livelihoods are climate dependent, and so when is that season that crops are not growing, they do not have any livelihoods to depend on. And thirdly, we realized that they are using fish technologies that are not efficient, and so we are providing them with clean, efficient fish smoking technologies to enhance productivity and also help women to, build resilience in the area. Then the other part of what I'm doing is the Young Africa Innovates project, which is across Africa, but we started in the central region of Ghana. And that is, we are looking for young people who are into climate technology. Realize that locally, young people are doing amazing, but they are hidden. And so this year, my target was to scout for young people who are doing some sort of climate innovations, put them in a boot camp to, enhance their products and their solutions, and also provide that space for them to scale up their innovations. And so we really got locally, went to about 16 regions in Ghana to scout for such people. And amazing, we came up with over 2,000 young people that are doing amazing things. And of course, with the help of UNDP, we've been able to bring them into a network. We are providing seed funds to support them scale up their innovations so that it can boost employment within the region. And so this is what I've been doing this year. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I want to go back to you, Cedric, and I will come back to you shortly, just to think about it. So I'll come back to you around what are the main challenges that you feel the youths are facing, and what is that one main success that you can say you've brought forward from your organization. So to you, Cedric, I know apart from the project you've just mentioned, that is AACJ, yeah? I know you run your own organization, so maybe you could tell us beyond the project that you've just mentioned, what is these other organizations that you have? What inspired you to start the organization, and what are you doing in the community? Yeah.
Thank you very much. Whilst you said that beyond AACJ, I must confess that Frontline is some sort of a baby of AACJ, because the AACJ is hinged on the theme of movement building in Africa and the power of voices. And so operating this project for the past 4 years, I was inspired to take action in my own country, Ghana, where I founded the Frontline for Climate Action. And what these foundations seek to do is to mobilize young people to be at the front and center of addressing the crisis. And we do this by leveraging on the strength and power and passion of young people, and by giving them the tools, building their capacities so that they can identify the climate change issues in their communities and prefer this by linking them to partners with funds, with grants, and different opportunities. And so in the past 6 months, we have made great strides. We have collaborated with the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, with the Bloomberg Philanthropies to come up with a project called Integrating Climate Change Solution into Local Governance. And this we seek to build a capacity of assemblymen and government actors to be able to make climate-informed policies and decisions. Beyond that, we have collaborated with the Pampram District Assembly, where we've taken climate change education into the schools in that district by building the capacity and knowledge of secondary school students to be the vanguards or the champions of the climate crisis. Because we do know that the young people, and indeed youth, are able to propagate and share information. They tend to educate their parents and their colleagues. And they, if they are taught and capacity built at early stage, can be able to champion the climate change solutions ahead. Beyond that, we've collaborated with research institutions in America, in the UK, where we've carried out a number of research that seeks to bring out, important information hinged on impeachable data on what the crisis is about and how we can address that. Finally, I must confess that we have, made a very great partnership with the Pampram Traditional Council through the leadership of Nene Tete Waka III, where we are leveraging on traditional leadership to take climate change solutions to the coastal cities, and areas at Ningo Pampram. And truly speaking, I must say that this journey has been very rewarding, and I want to thank my colleagues at the front line and all the volunteers who have been championing this cause. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. And I know, Cedric, you've just mentioned about the issues that the African youths are facing. So maybe I could give an opportunity to you, Alan, to elaborate more on what are these main challenges that you feel the African youths are facing. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Before I talk about the challenges that the African youth are facing, I think I want to emphasize that the African youth are capable. They are indeed very capable. Many a times people have viewed youth as people who are not capable of delivering solutions. But from my experience working with youth and working across Ghana, we've identified strongly that the African youth is capable of providing solutions. So they deserve to be trusted, they deserve to be entrusted, and they deserve to be supported to scale up their solutions. Primarily in my observation, I've observed that African youth are faced with the issue of risk when it comes to support from international players and donors. People feel when they are youths and they've not had exposure in terms of larger funds from larger donor entities and etc. There's some sort of risks on the part of the donors when they are collaborating to support you to scale up their initiatives. So I believe there is a need for some larger organizations to come in to more de-risk these African youth, provide them with some sort of grants and some sort of funds. It may start in smaller amounts, but as they work with those grants and as they scale up those solutions, they begin to build trust and they begin to build credibility for larger organizations to come in to support them. What I believe is that the future belongs to the youth. And I believe it's so strong that the future belongs to the youth. The youth are currently facing the issues we are talking about, the climate change. And if we are talking about solutions, they are the ones who can solve it. They are the ones who can save future generations. So one of the issues you find is the issue of risk and trust on the part of larger donors and etc. Another issue you'd find the youth facing a lot is issue of technical know-how. Because they are largely driven by their passion and their desire, sometimes they do not have the technical know-how, the scientific background to be able to scale up some of the solutions that they put before. And for us at Green Growth Africa, that is why we are implementing the Young Africa Innovates project, where we scout for these young African innovators who are putting forth climate solutions to the crisis that they are facing. Some of the solutions they have not been refined yet, so we help them test their ideas, we help them innovate it and scale it up to a point where it's able to provide employment and to a point where it's able to actually bring up solutions that are solving the challenges that they are facing. So these are the few things I would mention about the challenges that the youth in Africa are facing. But another thing before I drop the mic is to highlight the fact that more support needs to come in from international players and from other stakeholders to the African youth, because they are very capable of providing solutions. They are very capable of implementing their ideas. So this is just a call for stakeholders to come on board, to partner and support African youth to bring forth climate initiatives and climate solutions. Thank you.
Yes, you'd want to add something? Yes.
Yeah, probably. I was just going to talk about the same thing Alan has said, but maybe something more. You see, we all are hit by climate change, but the impacts are disproportionate. Because as a young person, what my stresses would be may be different. And so why don't you give me the chance to create solutions to address the issues that I face? Fast forward, this year, I've been keenly involved. I'm actually one of the coordinators for the Children and Youth Pavilion. And it will just amaze you at how young people have come together, and we've put together an entire program for young people for this whole COP. So I want to just debunk the idea that young people cannot. We can. of course. And somebody needs to take the risk of trusting us with that funds that we need to run our project. The other issue is tokenism. So sometimes it's like we are there, but we are not there. So why don't you create a space that young people are already part of it from day one, and not like you are trying to now include? No, we want to be at the seat. It is often said that when you are not at the seat, you are on the table. So you are discussing us, but we are not there. I think that COP has advanced in a way that should really stop, because a lot of my colleagues are not here because the processes are just so hard. To even access funding to be here this time around has not been an easy thing. So let's just create the space. Make it so easy for us to participate so that we can get our needs, our expectation across to world leaders. So that's just what I would say.
Thank you so much. So Cedric, I want to come back to you. I know it's been the 4th day into the COP29. So maybe you could tell us more about the reflection on this COP, and how different do you think it is from the COP28 that we had last year in Dubai?
I must confess that it has been a mixed feeling, starting from the sad note of the fact that some key global leaders have been missing here at COP29. Notably among them is the US President, the German Chancellor, the Chinese President, then other world leaders missing. And we do know that when we talk about global issues, these key leaders, ought to be part. And that sort of leaves certain gap, in our quest to address the climate change issues, especially for COP29. But beyond that, I must say that a lot of progress has been made here at COP. I see many governments making great contribution on the NDCs. At the African Pavilion, I see a greater call by the African leaders focusing on adaptation, making the point that adaptation is the key issues that confront Africa. Beyond that, also, I see a lot of collaboration between various countries, making a lot of progress. Unlike COP28, where there were a little bit stalemate in some of the decision-making process, I see greater collaboration happening among world leaders. And to me, that is very, very refreshing. I'm looking forward to the coming days to see how the outcomes of the issues will be on the various thematic areas, and to also make impact into these negotiations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So maybe the last round. So I would like you to give your call to action, because you have the platform, like you said, and you're also youth. So maybe your call to action as we wrap this up. Yes.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. For those who are just joining, I would like to introduce myself again. I'm Alan Amwakujedu from Ghana. I lead a non-profit called Green Growth Africa. For my call to action, like I've rightly indicated, I want to mention again that the African youth are capable. The African youth are capable. They can do it. African youth have the potential enough to bring forth the climate solutions we all dream of. What they need is support from stakeholders, support in terms of funding and financing, support in terms of technical know-how, support in terms of collaboration and partnerships to be able to scale up their solutions and then ensure the climate crisis we are facing are salvaged. Beyond that, I want to emphasize something about the African youth, and from where I come from, Ghana. You would find that a lot of the African youth are very involved at the grassroots. They are very involved down there. They are very known. They know the issues. They are very familiar with the intricacies that those are the front lines face. So in terms of adaptation, and in terms of their solutions, they are the best people to bring forth these things. So that is it.
Thank you so much. I know we have like 1 minute, but it's okay. I think we can wrap it up. Thank you so much. My name is Valentine Maina from VSO, and I've been the moderator. Have a good day.
Please, can I get a quick picture of you? I should get a picture of you and Johanna.
Wait, I mean, she's
There we go. Are you speaking next?
Yes.
Yeah.